And you can do a lot of research on that too.
No, I deal with enough transportation research stuff, I don't need to add to that list.
You can be our rim expert if you'd like.
No, thank you, I'll leave that to our expert in the room.
I'm gonna try one last time to go into this agenda. Alright, well, you'll have to excuse me if anybody else joins us
Yes,
tonight.
yes, I'll watch
It
that.
doesn't wanna work. Okay, are you all set?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council, Tuesday, September 1st, 6:30 PM. Could we please stand for a pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to do a brief moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 18th, 2020, and the special meeting held on August 25th, 2020. Any for motion from councilors?
Move we adopt the minutes of the regular meeting on
Second.
August 18th and the special meeting on August 25th.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any adjustments, concerns, things we need to change on those councilors?
On the town council meeting minutes, it's listed as page 8, under my comments. I think that there was a little error in what I was saying about the paving of the sidewalk affecting things. I wasn't worried about it affecting the election, because this is supposed to happen way before the election. I was concerned about how it would affect the town hall when entering and exiting for normal business. And you had addressed that, Catherine, but it was written in here as I was concerned about it affecting the election, and that's not the case.
It would be affecting any traffic to and from the location.
Right, and this work is supposed to be completed before the election happens, so that's irrelevant.
And if it isn't, then it'll be done afterwards, but we prefer not. It should be before.
Yes. Well, November's cutting it close.
It is.
Do we need to make a change? Or?
So I'd just like to amend that to say that I was not discussing the election, and I was talking about all business in and out of the town hall.
Does anybody have any objections to making any minute clarification?
Yeah, we could just put, inquire how the paving will affect operations as far as people coming into the town office, and that's just one word change.
Yep.
Anything else, counselor?
No.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the minutes of the regular meeting August 18th and the special meeting August 25th, with changes to Councilor Palomar's remarks at the end of the meeting minutes on the 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. Next is presentations, congratulations, introductions. Presentation by the Recreation Parks Committee and Recreation Director on the Pittsfield Recreation Department proposed fall 2020 sports program, and we should have a.
We were going to have somebody from the committee attend. I did get a very comprehensive report from the committee, which I put on the table in front of you. So if you wanted to wait a few minutes just to see if somebody's going to come, we could skip down the calendar. for the agenda. If not, we can review these items and see if we have any questions. It's not an item that requires approval of the town council. Simply, this is for information, see if you have any concerns, is there anything you'd like to add or subtract?
I thought it looked good.
It's detailed, but bulleted, but easy enough to understand.
Yep.
Or you could just look at it right now if you'd like.
Why don't we, come back to this one?
Somebody's
We
coming
We'll
in.
turn the door.
can do it all at once.
Somebody's coming. No, I think it's Ben. Trying to come in that door.
These things, a secret password.
Yes, that door has
It's
become a
super-
challenge.
We're at your turn.
Yes.
Yeah. You're on, just like that.
Hey. Okay. What do you want to know?
So we got the copy of the handout from Amanda Mack, which is well written on the details of the last meeting of the Parks and Recreation Committee. So we have the bullets on how the programs will be run with field hockey, cheering, soccer, and football. For any further comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I mean, the goal really is to start small, right? Try and give something for kids to do this fall, while obviously putting safety measures in place that we've all become accustomed to, right? Temperature checks of participants, of the kids when they come, when they come to the field to participate, sanitizing your hands and stuff, sanitizing any shared things like soccer balls or a football, and sanitizing that regularly. Social distancing, obviously, is frequent as much as possible, and when on the bench and things like that. Encouraging parents or other folks in attendance to social distance as much as possible. Really training up on your coaches to make sure they're being smart and being proactive and doing the right things to keep kids in the best position to stay obviously healthy. And should we get some fake cases that pop up, obviously everything's fluid right now with everything else in the world, right? So we're using our best judgment, working with Susie and working with Catherine, you folks, to make adjustments on the fly should the situations change. And as far as interacting with other communities, the plan is really start small, and if there's opportunities for field hockey or soccer to have a scrimmage with, say, a Newport or a Thorndike or something like that is in a similar situation, obviously have no major outbreaks or anything going on. Trying to leave it at the coach's discretion to schedule some inter-town, cross-town scrimmages and events and things like that. I did talk to Woody earlier this morning, and they are trying to move forward participating in a small 4-team league, if you will, with Winslow, Messalonsky, and Athens, who are doing a similar kind of approach. And obviously those situations will be monitored as well, but they're trying to do a K right through 6, K to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 football with those 3 other communities.
Question now?
Now that the summer sports are over, did you review your procedures and whatnot and see where you could maybe make some changes or tighten it up a little?
Yeah, I think and my kids weren't able to participate in the summer sports. It didn't get down to their age group, and a handful of us were
But do you think
really
it was a
occupied. So,
success with
I
how do
think
you
it-
feel about the things that we wanted to happen?
Yeah, I think for the most part it went well. I think there were a few coaches that perhaps needed a little more education on what is social distancing, and
Right.
the definition is there, but maybe a little more coaching up on sanitizing and what is social distancing
Right.
and what are some of the appropriate measures. As we know, when you go anywhere in the world right now, there are those that kind of
So my other question is, when we discussed the summer sports, we said that was to be within the district,
Yep.
with just our district. So I would oppose having scrimmages with other communities because we don't know what their rules are like, and we were pretty adamant that our recreation program was for the SAD 53 students. So I would have a problem having scrimmages or games or whatever with other communities. I think we're asking for trouble if we do that.
My only feedback to that is, does everyone in the town and the district work in the district? Does no one travel outside the town to work, to socialize, to go to restaurants or bars, or?
So I would have
Yes,
to
but
agree
we're
with that
talking
statement.
about children who need to be supervised by the adults. So,
Well, here's the issue though, we've got school, when we were discussing the summer rec program, we had very little information about this virus and what the precautions were and what the numbers were and how our counties were responding. We now have schools opening back up again. These kids are, even MCI, these kids are coming in contact with kids from other district areas already because MCI is open to so many different communities. My son has a best friend who lives in Skowhegan. He met at my best friend, her daughter goes to SCTC, so they're already leaving the district. I think that the idea of keeping in line with should we scrimmage other towns outside, and I think that that's okay, as long as they're following the same guidelines that we are. And if their numbers are, I mean, we have no numbers in our district right now, which is great. I hope it stays that way. And if other districts are experiencing the same low volume that we are, I don't think scrimmaging is going to change that. Especially if these things are put in place. And these are even more restrictive than what the state's saying.
I mean, I think we could definitely live with that. We would, anybody that we potentially would interact with, we would share our safety measures and ensure that they are doing at least equal to what we're planning to do. And ask that we do that if we were able to go forward with scrimmaging other communities. As far as the case piece goes, to my knowledge, cases are measured by county, correct? Is that correct?
Well, with schools opening up,
Are
you're gonna see it by.
they gonna be able to do it by
districts.
district? Okay.
I believe that's what they're planning on. Whether or not it follows through, I don't know.
We're in an interesting spot where our district actually crosses counties, so I was kind of wondering, cases by counties, what we've always been talking about. Now if we use by district, that'll be different.
So I kind of share Deb's concern about that. When we're talking about kids going back to school, it is going to be a very structured and limited contact that they're going to have. Are they going to be even having gym classes? You know, are they going to have
Yes, they are.
contact? Are they going to have contact? I mean, we're talking about football and soccer.
yeah.
My kids didn't play football, my kids played soccer, and it is a contact sport.
Yep.
And, you know, those kids play hard, and they put all their effort into it. And when they're on the field, there is no social distancing in place. You know, and you can do what you can off the field, but when they're on the field and playing, there is no way to social distance when you're playing a contact sport. Any of these sports that are like that, you know, if you have individual sports like golf, maybe tennis, you know, that's a little bit different, but I would share Doug's concern about the children interacting in that way because I don't foresee them doing that in gym class at school.
Correct.
I do agree that the kids need to have this outlet and they need the socialization and they need to have the physical activity because they are going to be sitting in front of computer screens most likely 2 days a week for some of their classes and things. But I would have a concern about that as well as being not just within our district, because over the summertime we did say it was skills and drills and that type of you know, skill building type interaction versus full on
Right.
you know, contact type things. And baseball isn't quite as much of a contact sport as these other sports are. So, I mean, I do have some concerns about that. So I would share Deb's concerns about, you know, scrimmaging with other towns and having that interaction. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, our kids are going to school, but they're all going to school and then they're playing together, and that makes a smaller bubble than if then you're going out to 4 different towns and interacting with all the kids, because you're not just interacting with those kids, you're interacting with all the people that those children interacted with, and it just becomes this spider web effect.
I do believe you're gonna see high school sports approved and going forward. And I think, as a school board member, right, I think we'll have a long discussion on the middle school level, whether they have sports at the middle school level or not. So you're probably gonna.
I don't think that we have enough on
Let them
some.
finish, sorry.
And, we'll have to see whatever the decision is. An honest question, is a concern more, and this is an honest question, is a concern more the liability of the town, or keeping the kids, or keeping the kids from being exposed to other communities? I know if the town says no to this competition or inter-town competition, families are gonna do it anyway.
Yes.
There have been a number of families that said, well, we're just gonna sign up, we're gonna play in a Waterville league with a number of other Waterville families and teams based out of Waterville, and it will be, not only, it won't be a Pittsfield team, it may be a team of Pittsfield, Clinton, Messalonskee kids on a team together.
Yeah, and that's not anything that we can do.
No,
anything
it's
about it.
not.
I mean, they can sign them up for dance class or any other thing
Yeah.
that they want to. My biggest concern is the exposure.
Yeah.
You know, that's my biggest concern is the exposure. Every time you go outside of your family bubble or outside of your work bubble or outside of your school bubble, you're increasing your exposure risk.
Yeah.
And we've been talking time and time again about mitigating exposure risk. And the plan does, all these sanitization procedures and things like that, that's all mitigation. But the big factor of that is so we're gonna do all of this, and then we're gonna let them interact with 50 or 60 other children.
Yeah. And we had the same conversation with the committee. At the end of the week, kind of thought, if we know they're gonna go out, they're gonna play, we could shut down all rec sports and say there's nothing. You're still gonna have 20 kids at the park or at the ports playing pickup, and we could let parents form their own groups and little travel teams and go travel other communities with no oversight, no structure, or knowing that it's probably gonna happen anyway, we could try and provide some structure and some guidance and some discipline and try and house it in the community. I'd love to see it go forward where we could strategically compete as necessary. I would, at bare minimum, hope that we would at least do within the town, youth leagues where we do skills and drills and play, scrimmages on Saturdays and stuff like that, like as we've done in the past with these extra safety measures.
And you said that worked well over the summer, so I would be comfortable with that continuing, because we have a track
But
record
not
of that
scrimmages.
within the district.
Yeah, they would
Within the
scrimmage
district.
themselves within the district.
They
Okay.
would be within the
But in
district, not
football
outside
and
the
soccer,
district.
that's a contact sport.
It is.
So even if they're wearing a mask, they're not protected.
Are they,
I
maybe I missed
still, so I
it,
still
do they have
am
masks on during
opposed
play?
to those
No,
two
the MPA,
sports.
CDC don't
No.
recommend use
No, I didn't
of
think
masks
so.
during sports.
I think we've done
Are you
really
choosing
well.
not to do
This-
golf during the fall?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, I thought, or maybe it was Susie, we asked about golf and that we were told golf was through JW Parks.
The golf is
Correct.
through JW Park.
It is
Oh,
not
that's
it's
not
not
a
a town rec
rec.
activity.
During the summer, we will list that as a town rec, and we take the registrations and the monies and then turn it over. So JW Parks operates like a independent contractor, which we could do if there was
Well,
another league.
Is it under?
It used to be, it used to belong to MCI, and then MCI sold it.
Is that
It's-
under the town's insurance and all that, or is it JW Parks insurance, or
Both.
it is?
Is that the same with the Pinnacle?
I'm just thinking, if God
No.
forbid something
No,
doesn't
okay.
happen with sports for kids through K to 12, they've lost golf, getting ready, specifically Warsaw, getting ready for MCI's golf.
Yeah.
If we don't know.
We might need more information on the exact logistics of, I don't think.
I didn't
I
realize
don't think it's
that
ever
we
been a
act
fall
as a-
rec sport, I think it's been a summer rec,
Okay.
historically, I believe.
Well, it makes sense, because then the people playing golf would play on the Warsaw team or on the MCI teams,
All
not,
right.
not during.
Pete, do you have any concerns about the proposal?
So originally I had a concern that the child played within the town, but I don't have that concern anymore, and it's pretty much gonna be covered by what.
I can't hear you, Pete.
I said, I had a concern originally with the summer rec, but then we found out that our park down in Manson Park is open to the public anywhere. So everybody in any town was coming and having particular games there, so that kind of like null and voided anything that we were trying to have happen. So to me, it's not a big deal to have them play other towns that are in the same similar structure as what they propose here. To me, that's not an issue.
Do we need to approve this?
No.
Or this is more
No,
advice?
it's just
This
more
is for
discussion.
advice, what do you feel comfortable with? You know, like an overall direction, but there's not an approval that's required. Now, we do not know at this time that there'll be travel teams, because this is all being worked out.
And we don't have enough information.
You know, it's all.
And that's the other piece. We don't have enough information even now we have done well as a community, I think, with following the safety precautions and the social distancing and working on having some sort of recreation, town recreation. But I want to be on the record that I am vehemently opposed to any contact sports. I just don't think we should take that chance. And my children are grown and have children of their own. And as a matter of fact, my daughter is not, the twins take karate and play baseball and gymnastics through the Alphon Center in Waterville. And parents aren't allowed to watch. Everything is taped and then they get a tape. They're not allowed to go in and watch. They're really strict about the way they do it, and they have the people to supervise. So
Are those events still going on now?
yes.
Because karate is very much a contact sport.
No,
Indoor
that's
events,
not,
they don't
that's
allow
not, they do
spectators.
katas, they don't do contact. And with the younger kids, the twins are 9,
Okay.
but they're
And
not
this is
doing contact.
these are outdoor sports we're talking about too, so
Yes.
obviously
Right,
all
I
the
mean-
evidence in the world.
So I don't have vehement objections to it. I have concerns, and I'll just let my statement of concerns stand for itself. But I mean, I appreciate the work that the committee's done to try and put programming together, and I hope it can work. I know parents of small children, like them, my kids are grown, so. but I remember the days of, kids needing that outlet, and it's an outlet for parents as well to interact with other parents too, so.
Track is a good sport because it's not a contact sport.
Depends on what you're running. My daughter did track, and, they're not all solo events that
No,
they
they're not.
compete in, so.
And I'd like to you guys have come out with your concerns, I'd like to support the plan. I think that it's a well thought through plan. Everything in here says that we have to follow the CDC and Governor Mills guidances, which are continually being updated. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw it, she updated outdoor sports rec stuff today, including a letter that she sent to the MPA. And so it's constantly being updated, and I think that if we keep it, within the communities that are experiencing the same types of restrictions that we are, we're not saying we're gonna send them to Bangor. And I don't know about you guys, I live in viewing distance of Hathorne Park and very close to Manson Park, and these kids are already participating in these sports without guidance from adults that could be deterring further spread. This is happening already.
Well,
I'm watching them scrimmage. They're playing basketball, which is a big no-no sport, according to the governor and the CDC. And this stuff is happening, and I'd love to see it happen with a little more guidance to show them how to do it in the world we're living in today until we can get out of it and go back to the way we used to do it.
We're
I'm
all
not
talking the same.
Amanda, I'm not saying that I don't support the program. I'm saying I have a problem with contact sports. But just because I have a problem with that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the work that
I
they
never
have
said
put
that,
together. You
I was
did,
just saying
so
that
if
you-
I
No,
could
I don't
finish.
think that's what.
No, I was saying
Well,
that you
that's how
have
it
concerns
came
about
out.
the scrimmage. I do not share those concerns, that's all I was saying. Because they're
Then
already
say it
scrimmaging outside of
succinctly.
this.
Okay, we're good. Catherine.
All right, just quickly for clarification, on field hockey, it talks about practice teaching individual field hockey skills. So does that mean that they're not going to be scrimmaging?
A few years ago, we had a similar approach where Nancy Hughes and some of the field hockey girls kind of took lead on the youth field hockey. And what they did was they did like Tuesday and Thursday night skills and drills. Everything's so fluid right now. This week in particular, we're looking to hear about the determination of high school sports, and obviously middle school sports would likely follow for those that haven't already made a decision. They did skills and drills on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they had 3 or 4 strategic Saturday scrimmages where maybe Dexter came to town and they scrimmaged Dexter, or Messalonsky or Waterville came and they had a scrimmage here and there. I think we're trying to leave it open enough that over the next couple of months, obviously a lot can change, and we have the ability to schedule a scrimmage with a nearby community who's also very low or no cases, similar to ours. And like Deb said, our town's done a great job, our county's done a great job, and really overall, the state of Maine has done an excellent job.
Yes, it has.
And we're all in the same situation. We all have, higher risk folks in our families, in our houses, in our communities, and we're trying to fight that battle between, do we completely shelter, do we, the kids are dying to do something, right? They're dying to get those competitive juices flowing and do something. Do we venture out a little bit with safety measures in place and do our best to protect them while also understanding, the lasting effects of COVID on their psyche, right? On the mentality, and physically, and the psyche of being isolated from their friends and isolated from the sports and competitions they love and from the recreational activity. There's a lot of science behind the impact those are going to have too. So
Ben, when are the programs slated to start?
we've been meeting. We had a couple weeks on it. I talked to Woody today. Theirs will follow similar to high school, probably push several weeks in September, get school underway, let kids start to, get that figured out first.
That's what I was hoping, that there would be a gap before this started. That way, if
Yeah.
there are issues that arise out of school starting next week?
This week.
This week? If there's issues that arise in the next week or two from school starting, that it's not gonna immediately jump into, and not to say that they get issues in our communities, but with the eye of looking ahead and interacting with other communities in this organized way. It's not just our community that we need to be keeping an eye on, it's the other communities as well.
Absolutely.
And, as we've seen from the Moosehead, wedding
Oh my
issue,
God.
it only takes one gathering to really, have a huge impact. And so, I would hope that there would be a gap of a couple weeks between school starting and all these programs getting into place before having organized things like this start.
Yeah.
Would be my hope.
It's kind of like
we wanted to get through this.
defensive driving.
We want to get through this meeting and make sure we talk to the council and had everybody, on board before we even put out information, right? We've had parents calling and knocking on the door saying, what's going on? So,
The
later
NBA
this
has
week,
recommended September 15th, right?
it'll probably, right, let's say, we want to
For
put
the
out
preseason.
signups, later this week, hopefully, and get them sent home in backpacks, so it'll be a few weeks letting people get signed up and try to find some coaches and things like that. And it'll probably be very condensed from what's been in the past, with, maybe more of a 6 Saturdays instead of 8 or something like that. And, but we'll definitely want to get a few weeks into school.
And then is the Rex program kind of looking ahead to winter sports as well, or are you just gonna tackle fall sports for now and see how things go?
We're trying to do one of these with the indoor winter sports.
Yeah, it's coming whether you want
It is, and there's a whole, obviously, different set of challenges that go with indoor sports, indoor
And
activities.
basketball and other.
Yeah,
I
the
think
indoor sports right now
contact.
they're saying no to, correct? Do I remember reading that correctly?
I've been so signed up in the fall.
Catherine?
All right, very good. So to go back to the list on cheering, it talks about practice and teaching the skills and staying in the 6-foot space. So will the cheerleaders be going to the games that we have in town? Or are they just gonna learn all the skills?
Like, they're gonna do similar, if the high school sports go, we have to look at whether they go stand on the sideline space. And they likely won't have fans, so I'm not sure that's really feasible. They may just practice. If it makes sense, they may practice at the same time off to the side as a 4, 5, 6 soccer game, soccer scrimmage, soccer practice goes on, and so these people can see them and see what they're doing there. But we're just really kind of being really fluid with it and see what makes sense. But it's similar to field hockey. It'll be mostly a practice and kind of.
All right, very good. So once we start putting the notices out and everything, it will be like from now, like a 3-week period before everything gets all set up and you have the activities. So you will have that small gap.
Okay. Any other discussions aside from things we've already covered? Do you have any other questions for us, Ben?
No, just, I mean, you read in the notes there, right? Trying to get something going for fall was a big focus, right? Because we knew that's on the schedule, that's coming, it has the face here. Other than that, we have met quite a few, 3 or 4 times now. And master planning is big on our list, right? Working with the town, working with different departments and folks in the community, master planning for our parks. Putting those master, 10-year plans together, maintenance plans together, things like that, some stuff we haven't had in the past, so that would allow Catherine to go apply for grants and other things. So we're really understanding, what does that look like? I've done a little bit in the past, most of the folks haven't. So what does that look like? How do we do outreach to the community to get community involved in master planning, What do we as a community see Hathorne Park looking like 10 years from now, right? What are some 1-year needs, 5-year needs, 10-year needs, and things like that. So we would talk a lot about the master planning, and we have been talking about improving communication from a rec level or a rec perspective. I don't know when all your kids went through, but if they did, that communication is always a struggle. It's probably always going to be a struggle. We've looked at what some other communities are doing, and we found some really good web pages that are dedicated to rec, they're designed for rec. They would online registration, online fee collection, online signing of insurance information and waivers, and allow for all of that. That will streamline your administrative team up here, hopefully. And it goes beyond just the rec sports, it goes to other rec activities. It has POS systems where you can run all your concessions through it and have the funds piped directly to accounts you have set up. At the beginning of every sports season, you could send a blast to all previously registered parents or guardians that, hey, it's time for fall signups. Click the link in this text message to sign up, right? You're not relying on crumpled up papers home in the backpacks and things like that. So we're really hoping that we would be able to find a way to generate funds to pay for an improved communication site that would have a return on investment for streamlining not only upstairs, guys and girls upstairs and their efforts, but just communication within the community and hopefully really, make life a little easier for some folks.
One of the things that we talked about at our last meeting that I brought up, and I think Catherine was gonna try and follow up a couple leads on that, was engaging a community planner to talk to someone, kind of like do like a community needs assessment as far as like housing and different things like that. And I think the master planning along the Parks and Rec might also fall into that, because part of that would be having community-centered discussions about what people are looking for, what people want.
That's great, yeah.
And one of the things that Deborah's brought up a couple times is having art programs as part of the Parks and Rec as well. So are there any, tonight, this proposal was for the fall sports. Has there been any discussions about other things that could be offered maybe for kids that would be like enriching activities that wouldn't be sports related?
We've had a lot of discussion. We had a lot of discussion about rec tends to get pigeonholed on, the K through 8, and sports type activities, but it needs to go beyond that, right? Inclusive of all age groups, your teenagers, your early 20s to your late 80s or late 90s. That there's community events and things that there are things out there that maybe need to get consolidated and streamlined, whether it's a cribbage nights, or it's square dancing nights, or it's paint and sip water nights, or whatever. Whatever they, right, that we look to kind of expand and bring other folks into the group, right, and get things like that, and get people out, and get people moving, obviously safely in this current time, but.
I think that's a great idea. I'd be willing to work with the committee regarding getting some art programming into the rec department.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate, I appreciate all the work. I think one of the best things the council has done since I've been on is to combine all of those committees into one committee. It gives you more people, more insight, and hopefully it's easier to keep hold of the program in its entirety.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
I really think it was a good decision, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, we appreciate it. We got a great group, and I know the support's there.
So our first step with the communication is to get information from the committee that they think would be important, put it on the website, and then we can link on if we get another website later on, which sounds really great, and is one that is utilized by, really big communities. So it would be a great asset, but right now we can fill in the information for our website, so I can go search for information. And so the staff just doesn't have time to search for it, so if when you're putting information together and items that you want, we can put it right onto the recreation page, so it's updated continuously, and we can fix it so it has its own tab on the front, and you can go directly into recreation. And then later on, we can go to this other site, which would be great. And the second thing I was going to mention, I didn't want to impact your meetings, because I know you're going to do things in an orderly fashion, and you just started. But all of the budget items for 2021 are due pretty much now, this week, so there's no way that you could ever have done that. So I did give you a set of forms, you gave them to Susie as usual. But if there's some particular items that you come up with that you think would be interesting for the recreation budget, we can look at those. But the capital plan, I can just put a placemaker in, a placeholder into the capital plan if there's something that you think would be good and have an estimate. And then you can develop it as you go along, and then we'll fit it into the budget at the end if we can. So we can do a placeholder, because there's no way you could have ever put a budget together now.
Yeah. I think we'd be doing a disservice to try and even throw something like that out at this point. There's so much we don't know. And there's master plans and 5-10-year plans driving into that capital reserve type fund would be critical there. And Catherine was nice enough to print off all of the pages from the town site that we can mark up, and I think that's a quick win, an easy win to get those updated. Maybe get it consolidated into a number of different pages for each sport. Maybe we consolidate or something like that it's easier to maintain, and ultimately in the long term, we say one source of the truth, right? There's one place that everybody knows to go, and all links point to that place.
One-stop shopping.
Yeah. So that's
Sorry, Ted. Is it possible for the committee to have access to their webpage on the town website to be able to make the changes as they need to? It seems very cumbersome for them to have to submit information to make changes to the town office, and then the town office has to go online and do the changes, versus having the rec director be able to make an update right when she knows that there's a game that's been changed or a practice that's been changed.
All right, so we have 14 departments and 20-odd committees, so no, we haven't given access to all the different pages on the website. So all you need to do is just send something into myself, and I'll make sure the staff updates it. It'll be easy enough to cut and paste.
I think it might make sense to have very limited information, or maybe on the town page, where Susie has an entire Facebook page that she maintains now with all of that critical data, the day-to-day type stuff. Maybe it's a very high-level general list of offerings and a link to the Facebook site that has your detailed information. Might make sense right now.
So getting that information out to people so that on the town website it actually says go to this Facebook page
Yes.
to see
Yes.
the most up-to-date information
Yeah,
versus.
and the link's right there or something.
Okay,
That would
so
make
maybe
more
that
sense
would be
to
the
me.
better way to do it, to have a clear, defined, easy to find spot where if they click on the recreation
Parents
page,
can
it just
go.
says, there's nothing here for you, go here.
Yeah.
Basically, you don't want them to be reading all that stuff and then end up like, oh, at the
Yeah.
end I have to go somewhere else to find the information I'm really looking for.
List your rec director and maybe a couple bullets of general
Yeah.
information and send you to their Facebook
Yeah.
page.
And I
Most of
think-
the coaches tell the kids too, and the parents to
Right.
go to that
Yeah.
rec. I still have that rec site and Jeremy's aged out, so I still see all of those updates.
Yeah.
So we
But
have
the Facebook page would be
extensive-
easier to keep up.
We have extensive,
Yeah.
use of the website. The statistics always amaze me. So, critical information, bullets and everything are very helpful.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Ben, it sounds like your committee's been doing a lot of work in a very short period of time, and I think you're well on the way to creating a really robust rec department or rec program that takes into account a lot of different needs of different people in the community, as well as the equipment needs and infrastructure and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is something we've been missing with the multi-committee approach. So I'm very hopeful that, that having this committee approach is going to be very beneficial.
Thank you.
I'd also like to say, because normally I would say this at the end, thank you for coming and explaining all of this to us. And
Yes, thank you.
Usually people leave before we get to the thank you part, so I want to thank you now, so that you know that we really appreciate all of the work you and the entire committee is doing. We're excited to see it grow. I know I am, I know others have shared that as well, even our missing counselors. We're all excited to see that committee grow and everything combined and see what you guys come up with in the next year.
Appreciate it. Everybody's
So-
invited to the next meeting.
Before we let Ben go, was there anybody on the Zoom call that had any input?
There was not, no.
Nobody? Okay. All right, thanks, Ben.
Well,
You're
since
welcome
we did
to
the thank yous
stay.
already, I need to step out. I do have a fantasy football draft with my colleagues. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Community and economic development activities and events.
Very good. Under presentations, correct, congratulations and introductions, the community and economic development activities and events have a soft opening of 487 Nutrition, which is down at the former Bangor Savings Bank building. You can get any type of healthy drink that you would like, it looks like. And so they haven't had their grand opening yet, but they're soft opening, and that's why there's so many vehicles down there near their building. So that is exciting. Your council package had a list of projects which are moving forward, many projects. So I'm not going to go into those, but I did want to announce that 487 Nutrition had opened. The main item we wanted to talk on tonight regarding the economic development was the Main Street project. And so some information came out of the Zoom meeting that was set up for the town departments and myself. And basically, you got your progress meeting minutes. And so basically, everybody just talked about what they wanted to do with the project. There were no decisions that were made. I gave them the information from the council that you would prefer not to have the esplanade or the strip of grass that often is not mowed, and that we would prefer to have the bump outs taken out if it could give us more parking spots. And so the information out of the meeting, just quickly for the citizens, let's do the bump outs first. There was no specifics given, but John Devon, who is the chief engineer for the Bangor division, indicated that those are there to help us with the crossing of people and for traffic safety, as we know, slowing down the traffic. So he believes, and was going to do some research, that if we take those out, we're going to have issues with how far away the parking can be, so that we might actually lose parking. So they were going to do some review of that. So the bump outs, I like the bump outs.
And
I
don't
think-
get rid of them. We cannot lose more
I know.
parking.
We wanted to have more parking, which is why we originally would have thought that. It may end up being the same, or you may lose one or two spots, or maybe we could gain one or two spots. But he, off the top of his head, thought that this would create more issues than it was worth, even though it would be good, for maintenance to not have those there. I know, I'm sure that Rennie's would prefer to have them there, and anybody who had a shop that had the bump out in front of their location. So that was pretty much the short one. The longer discussion would be on the strip of grass. So the DOT made a listing of the pros and cons, and they talked about the largest strip of grass that they need is 2 feet. So it's either no strip of grass or a 2-foot strip. So on the no grass, the pros are a slight reduction in construction costs, reduction in maintenance, no mowing and no issues or calls, which we all would know that one. A reduced limit of disturbance. The slope behind the sidewalk will match the existing ground at a lesser offset. So there would be a reduced limit of disturbance with the slopes. The con is any pole that requires relocation will have to be placed behind the sidewalk, and so that would increase tree removal and clearing. It specifically, they talked about how it will create a lot more cutting of limbs and actual movement of trees, and a concern came up about the MCI trees, because they lost so many trees.
Right.
And then we don't have the exact details, but these items came up during the meeting. So then with the 2-foot strip of grass, pros are relocated poles can be placed in the esplanade with DOT agreement to reduce offset of pole to 1 foot behind the face of the curb, which they really like, provides additional separation of vehicle and pedestrian traffic. This is true. Cons are a slight increase in construction costs. Obviously, that's the opposite of the without having it. The esplanade will require maintenance, mowing. Again, we would realize that one. Increases the overall impacts. It's likely to result in additional temporary rights from additional abutters. And so today I got a note regarding the colored paper that we got in our package, which you might see as darker colors. With the esplanade, a lot less poles will have to be moved. Without the esplanade or the strip of grass, we would have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 12 poles on the area south of the railroad track. And if we left the strip of grass, we would have to move maybe 5. So they said the choice is up to us in the end. If we would not have a cost for the poles, what will happen is there'll be a lot more trees cut, a lot more branches cut, which that has its pros. Of course, you get rid of some of the branches and some of the older trees that are on Main Street that are an issue, but you also will have extreme citizen concern over their trees.
Isn't MCI going to redo their front campus anyway?
Yes.
They are, but they did bring out the trees. That was brought up at the meeting. But yes, they want to do a U, which they've talked about for years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they would do it at the time that this project was done. So several things are being done at once.
The trees that they lost, did they hardly ever go that way? Did they replace them? Are they gonna keep, because from above it's an M, or it was?
We only had their engineer at the meeting,
Oh.
so we didn't go into the details. So,
Okay.
I assume
I was just
MCI always had
curious.
a beautiful campus. They would probably do some tree planting, but I can't speak for them. So at this point, the state started out all excited that we did not want that strip of grass, but by the end, it was going the opposite direction there.
So does it have to be a strip of grass? A lot of places will have just concrete and they paint it green.
That was
Or
also
red,
mentioned
or-
too, putting in, if you have rocks, then they're gonna go all over the place. So
Right.
it'd have to be something that would pack down. That
Or
was talked
bricks.
about too. But they wanted to know with this additional information, which we didn't have before, what are our thoughts? I think on the bump out, it's pretty easy. We don't want to lose any more spaces. So we leave them in if we have to, once they do their calculations. The strip of glass is a Grass is a little bit different.
I think
Well,
we
if
should
we
just try
keep
and
them-
minimize our costs going forward. We don't have the manpower to be dealing with grass.
Mhm.
You know, it's expensive, and a 2-foot thing of grass is just a pain in the neck to have to mow with a concrete
And
curb
it's
on
horrible
either
if you
side.
don't.
Right, you have to keep up on it, and it will
And-
die. Like right now, it would all be brown and dead.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to
And
mow
when we
it,
get
but-
to that point, maybe we can consider if we keep that strip of grass, that it not be grass, be replaced with brick or paving stone.
We don't wanna do that, cause then
No, we
we have to
can't do
constantly replace brick
Well,
and
they're
paving
actually,
stone.
yeah, bricks, actually a high maintenance thing.
Yeah,
They're what?
Yeah.
they're high maintenance.
High maintenance.
Yeah, look out back.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
something.
They always move, they sell, and if people aren't happy with the appearance, then you have to get out and dig them up.
Mhm.
And then
You
you
level the base like you
paint
have
the
at the library, and then relay the pavers. I
What
just-
about concrete with a stamp to make it look like brick?
You could stamp the concrete, I would, in other words, if you
That
wanted
would be
to
cool.
look up, but at the pole locations, in case they ever had to set another pole,
They have
you know,
to
when you
jackhammer
break
out
a
the
pole,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to set another one. They usually set right beside it. At that point, you gotta leave something for a buffer for a short distance either way, I would think.
So you'd have to have grass around the poles.
Or a
Well,
little
no.
gravel square,
Or, correct.
little gravel
Right.
square, almost like you would like, I think some downtown areas, when they plant a tree, they have like a metal grid over
yeah.
an area around the tree
Yeah,
to allow the
Belfast
tree to
does that.
grow, and there's like gravel underneath that for water to permeate through.
And then if we need another pole, you just pick up the grate.
Correct.
Maybe gravel.
Correct, you would
Yeah,
pick
but
it
this-
up, you would drill another pole location, set your pole, get things back up and running,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to deal with cutting off the other pole and leaving it there. Eventually you run out of options, you have to do something
Right.
about that. But that's feasible, I mean, like you say, they leave a metal grate that can be adjusted, that leaves enough room for growth of trees. I guess you could do something. Don't know what that would be yet, but something.
Well, we don't have to do it right now either. We have time to think about it, right? This is not gonna be happening this year,
Yeah.
and maybe not next year.
Well, they're
they wanna
doing
do
the plans right now.
They wanna do the
right?
plans.
To do
Yeah,
the plans.
they're
They want
designing
plans
it.
for
Right, if everything can be resolved, the goal is next year. I mean, we've already put it out 2 years from the original goal.
Yeah.
People are getting impatient.
Well, they're pushing it,
No,
they're
this-
now stating at the last couple of meetings, one of which you were at, I mean, it sounded like it's gonna be the year after, which has gotten to a point where I've told them, you know, we can't do this, we have grants and, some of them I can delay, but some of them I can't.
And the road is falling apart.
Oh, yeah, so we went over that too, yeah.
Got the wear and tear on all
The
of the town.
100
computers.
rehabilitation.
So, I mean, so you're looking for feedback from some,
Yes.
so that would be I would wanna, like, obviously we wanna preserve all the parking spots.
Yes.
And limit our ongoing costs as far as maintaining whatever is gonna happen. That would be my preference.
I
As far
agree.
as what it ends up looking like in the end, then, you know, we get what we get, I guess, but.
Have you ever done a poll?
Taking all the things.
Have you ever done a poll on Facebook before?
We did one for the theater.
We did,
Yeah.
we don't get a lot, we've done a couple, but we haven't
Yeah,
had
we
a
did a
lot of
cert, we
results.
did,
Have you done one recently, now that we're living in a full technology world right now, where nobody
Not,
can go
not
anywhere?
since COVID-19, no, it's just before.
I wonder if it might be worth, Catherine, just doing a quick poll. If we don't get response, we don't get response, we gave them an opportunity, and that's fine. But it'd be interesting to see how people felt, not about grass, because I agree, we need to get rid of the grass, whether we have that space there or not. It shouldn't be grass filled. But whether people are really going to be that concerned if tree branches have to be cut along that stretch in order to allow the costs now and going forward for maintenance purposes to be lower.
We also have a
I'm
grant
just
to plant
curious.
more trees too.
you have a Facebook page for the council, correct? Your own Facebook page directed at council business?
I do not do, no. I have one for running for state representative, I do not.
Oh, I thought you had one for being on the council, because I was gonna say, that would be, if you had a Facebook page, you could do the survey or whatever.
I would be fine with putting up a survey. I can do it on my personal page, that doesn't bother me,
Okay.
that's not a, I've got.
I'd be interested if you did
I
that
would
to
be
see
too.
what the
We could
numbers
do it on
would
the
be.
town Facebook page.
Well, you can even, you do it on the town page, because the polls are super easy to set up. And then you share it on like Heart of Pittsfield, on our personal pages, on
Right.
counselor pages if you have them, and that's how it spreads.
To get more and more people to
Yeah,
go online.
absolutely.
to the poll. So,
Not actually do the survey, but just take a poll.
Yep.
I
right,
think we'd get better results than we did with the survey.
So the people that are really going to be impacted are the landowners along the road. The people who will be impacted in the long term is the budgeting
Exactly.
through town and state funds. All right, we'll see what we can set up. If they want to answer tomorrow, obviously that's probably, I'm just gonna go ahead and, tell them we will, do not want the grass. However, if they want to leave the, Esplanade in, and can get some sort of material that will not be a huge maintenance problem, and that would actually take care of, not cutting down as many trees, that might be the solution.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's sort of a middle ground.
It'd have to be a material that, I don't know if you guys have seen it all, but on the corner of Waverly and Madawaska, a new pole was put in. And it clearly needed to be put in. But now it has blocked and really tore up that tar of the walkway. And you have to, I take a 4-mile route, and that's the route I go, and now it's even hard to just get off. So we do have to plan, like Steve said, for concrete. We don't want them to have to break all of that apart. We'd have to have some kind of.
Steve, is there like a rubber mat that could be put over, like if there were stones put down underneath in that 2-foot thing, are there any rubber mats or something that could be affixed to the ground that would serve the purpose of keeping the stone in place, not having to mow it, be somewhat aesthetically pleasing, but could be removed or adjusted in some way in the case of needing to put poles in?
I'm sure there's something. Yes. I'm sure that there's something. I don't know what the answer would be yet, but,
I never knew that
they make
2 foot
rubber tiles,
grass
2
is
foot,
like
2
this
foot by
many
2 foot
people.
rubber tiles all the time that you put down, you know, on floors for
Yeah.
entryways, non-slip kind of stuff.
Well, we have like thick rubber mats we have in the barn
Yeah,
for the cows.
Yeah.
You know, and they last a really long time with cows chomping on them,
Yeah.
and they're resistant to chemicals and everything else. So,
yeah.
there must be a different form of that, because it comes in like a 5x4 sheet for us, but I'm sure there's other forms of it. It's recycled tires, so.
I like the concrete idea.
But,
All right, so I've got an idea of what we want to do. I'll make sure I find out what the time frame is here, and
Yeah, what
explain
they're
this
gonna
out,
let
and
us
see what the
do.
state knows for materials.
Okay.
However, everybody does need to limit their costs with the amount of money that we have, which was our 50% match for the grant. We knew we were gonna be very, very tight on our sidewalk project. So the main area was to do the downtown area and then go as far as we could down to the back entrance of the industrial park, but we may not make it all the way. Because in this project is also lighting that needs to be done, desperately needs to be done.
And so what happens to the other piece of paving?
There's a piece of paving that is
Under-
underneath the ground and not evident as you go down the hill. It gets less and less wide to where it's down to like 2 feet wide, and then it disappears. But the sidewalk used to go all the way to the back entrance of the industrial park. Now there is a wide curb cut along some of the businesses down there. So that doesn't need to be part of the sidewalk, which does reduce costs. but there are areas where, I wouldn't call it a sidewalk, but something's there.
Okay.
Right,
Did you have anything else, counselors, regarding that letter that we received, or the minutes that Catherine was speaking about?
Hmm?
Catherine, did you have anything else under?
The only other item I'd mention is the Maine Economic Recovery Grant Program is coming up right up with its deadline next week on September 9th, 11:59 p.m. So I'm not going to go into all the details because it sounds wonderful as you start out, and they've got an extensive amount of grants that have come in. Maximum grant amount is $100,000. It's supposed to help those businesses affected by COVID-19, which is almost everyone, if not everyone. A few has worked to their benefit, but you have to be in a specific area. And to qualify, there has to be a demonstrated need for financial relief based on lost revenues versus expenditures since March 1st. Demonstrate an expected 20% loss in income for 2020. Be a for-profit business or a non-profit organization. And then there's a lot of exclusions. So just for anyone out there, it's not a grant the town can apply for. So we're not applying. Municipalities and schools are not applicable, as well as a whole variety of other items. But basically it's for your it's basically regular businesses that have been affected. So the grant applications are to be completed by September 9th. The DEC, Department of Economic Development website has the application, as well as every economic development agency out there. It's on like 8 or 9 different pages, including the town's website and Facebook page. On every economic development entity in Somerset County and the state has it on their page, from what I can tell. So they've received hundreds of applications and more will be in. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Reports, council committees, finance committee.
Finance committee has not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is,
End of September?
is it the 29th, 22nd? I don't have my,
22nd,
thank you.
Finance Committee reviews budget.
Yep.
Okay, 9:42. Ordinance committee has a meeting coming up next Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
What time is that?
The
I
8th?
believe it's 6:30 again.
Yes, we were able to keep that one at 6:30.
Yeah.
Is the finance at 6:30 too? Because I know we moved times on a couple of meetings, so
Yeah, we
I'm
only-
not sure I have times correct.
The 22nd, we're meeting at 6:30 because
Okay.
we don't have a meeting after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's just
can-
the times
I
that we
know.
had meetings after that we were trying to meet a little earlier.
Right.
I can send you the budget calendar separately if you'd like.
Oh, I have it.
Okay.
And Tim's not here. I don't believe they've had a meeting. They have one coming up in
The
It'll be-
16th.
it'll
end of
be
September?
The third week in September.
Okay. So recycling is coming up. 9/16. And board and committee updates by town councilors and town manager. And we have councilor ones, so Catherine, it was for you.
Yeah, I usually report on the Parks and Recreation Committee, and we heard that this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
When's the planning board meeting next time?
The planning board would be meeting, see if we have a calendar here, on September 14th.
Okay, thank you. And that's at 6:30 or 7?
There will be 7.
7, thank you.
Who's that?
Planning board. Town manager's report.
Yes, very good, thank you. I'll try to run down through all these items as briefly as we can. All right, number one, I thank you during our civil emergency COVID-19 issues. Everybody has been very helpful and supportive to everyone in the community, which is great. And we have wonderful compliance here with distancing and wearing of masks. Number two, November 2020 election site. So due to the COVID-19 requirements, councilors were interested in the town looking at other locations for the election, simply because we are restricted on our space here. It's a wonderful site during any election except for a large November election during COVID-19 due to distancing. So for a regular election, we did move our items around a little bit. It still worked out wonderfully. But we went through an exercise and looked at any of the locations here that are handicap accessible, and any location that we have would have to be. We have many people that come that require these services, and it's the law. So our current site, of course, is handicap accessible. We looked at Warsaw and MCI, and of course they both had concerns because they needed to use the locations for themselves and social distancing, so they were not available. We looked at the Elks Lodge, and after an inspection, the Elks Lodge is good for the purposes it has, but there are too many items that would have to be done in order for that facility to be outfitted for the town. And that would not be, it would not be right of us to ask them to do all these items. So that site is out. We then looked at the fire station, which has a number of items, including heat, which is not there. And we would not be able to set up heating in that site just because of the airflow. A wall and a door would have to be built and installed when looking at the state requirements. And the third item that came up dealt with the fire trucks, which if we could certainly move them easily out into the parking area, but that's where everybody parks, and so you need the parking for the citizens. So you could move them to another site, but then that might lead to some confusion if there was a fire.
Right, because their equipment, you can move the trucks,
Mhm.
but their turnout gear is hanging on
Yes,
hooks.
and you would have a time delay and confusion.
Yeah.
And then we looked at the flows.
Chambers it is.
Yes, yes, so that, what does
Kinda
that mean?
looking
We're
that
back
way.
to the council chambers here. So, that's where we will be staying. And so because of that, with the lines that we would have, it's likely we would have to close down services upstairs, just because of the traffic flow. That may have happened anyway, because it's very hard to get election workers now. Our election workers were older, and as you get older, you get health problems, and it's not fair to ask them to go out if they don't feel safe. So it's likely that all the town employees, with the exception of one or two, will be downstairs working at the polls. We believe the telephones can be kept up and should be, because people will be calling all day about polling questions. So that can be easily done. Online services can be done, as well as any telephone items that can be done with credit cards. So we'll be able to leave somebody upstairs to, at least one or two, to do some services, but we would not have people coming in, so we would not have walk-in traffic, but we would still be able to do a lot of services. So I think that that is what is going to take place. And so it will be here, and we'll work on the staffing, and as we get closer, we'll have more information, and we'll do publicity, as well as promotion of absentee balloting with this distribution of the ballots in many ways. So ballots can certainly get back here. People can vote here once the ballots are here. We're going to set up a voting booth upstairs. So it's meeting the state law requirements, and we'll give some privacy to people so they can vote right in the town office upstairs leading up to the election. So that should be very helpful.
When can early voting start, Catherine?
We would have to get the ballots. The ballots are supposed to be here 30 days prior to the election. There have been elections when that has not happened from the state. Hopefully, we don't believe this will be one of those. We believe we'll get them in time. Number 3, nomination papers. So we had announced that nomination papers are now available. We have the following positions available: a District 2 council member, a 3-year term, an at-large council member, 3-year term, 3 SAD 53 board members, 3-year terms. Those papers would have to be filed at the town clerk's office with full signatures, which is at least 25, and we recommend a few more in case somebody is not registered. The papers need to be returned by 5:00 p.m. on September 21st. Number 4, town office reopening. When we reopened on June 1, we had some different hours to assist people with coming in and making appointments without the public here. And we have now been back on our regular schedule since July 14th, which is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m., closed on Wednesdays. Number 5, online services. For town business, we have now a page listing all of the online services available. You can click on them and go directly to that service and have items taken care of. We have a handout that's available on the town's website of all the online services, links on the Facebook page, and handouts here at the town office. Number 6, we did a new registration list listing every item that you needed for your registration, anticipating a long line when we reopened, but everybody was really good and came in sort of at different times, and so we did not have long lines, so that was good, and everybody got in here. Number 7, transfer station new fee system. I will only note, so that we are very quiet on this and don't have an hour discussion, I'll just note that we have sold 1,100 transfer station stickers, and there's nobody working for the town that thought that we would need that many. So that was a learning experience on this transfer of stickers over the years that you had for decades. Yeah, that is done. Number 8, the code enforcement violations. I reported at the last meeting on one of the properties that people were very frustrated with on Somerset Avenue. We did receive the legal letter from the individual's attorney indicating the project would be completed in a 2-month process or period of time. And we are about 2 weeks into that now, and no activity since the last council meeting. Number 9, Pittsfield Summer Recreation Program wound down on August 28th. It was a very nice season. Less participants, however, those who did participate had more of an opportunity to enjoy the pool and all of the programs and had more individualized attention. Number 10, the porta potties at Hawthorne Park still working out really well. We just had only that one incident early on when they were, I guess, new because they had just arrived and got tipped over. But that was the end of that, and people have been very happy because now anytime they use the park, they can go use the restroom, whereas before the restrooms were only unlocked when a staff member was there. So there was very light hours for that. Number 11, KB Cog Textile Recycling. Apparel Impact Company's clothing and shoes boxes for textile recycling are at the transfer station and have been for a couple of weeks. These are for used clothing, or you could probably put new clothing in, but we wouldn't recommend that. That should go to other locations in town. But clothing, bedding, towels, bags, purses, shoes, and hats. These are very heavy items, and there's a lot of these. So they now can be recycled or reused. The recycling trailer is
how are they gonna recycle the clothes? Did they say?
Some of the items will be taken out, and they'll go to mills that they have arrangements with, in which they'll be recycled. It actually can be done now. This used to be the way it was, and then all of a sudden this went away because there was no market for it. But there's a market back now, likely in other countries, I suspect. For the reuse, they'll go to reuse facilities. We have items now that the recycling committee drives up to the shelters in Bangor, so some of the items will go to the shelters. Items would go to the animal shelters for bedding. So there was a variety of items. So it's good to have this avenue now with a company that likely, because of their reputation and how many locations they have, will stay in business. We've done this before and the companies have gone out of business.
I think it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. The recycling trailer is back at the municipal parking lot, so people can recycle 24 hours a day, which they've been doing. Number 12 is sewer and water system work. We have a whole variety of projects that are going on, which includes the water rate review and working on the sewer ordinance, so you'll see that soon. Number 13, highway, water, sewer, transfer station, recycling department projects. Paving and preliminary work, I reported on that at the last meeting. So we have all our pipe contract documents all done. Public Works has been working on the cross culverts on Higgins Road. There's been multiple orders of materials, and we are moving towards September. Hydrant replacement. The hydrant on North Main Street will be replaced. We're trying to schedule that for September. And so the staff is working on a detour for North Main Street because there's traffic coming from 4 different directions, and this will be expensive for the traffic control. So Oliver Associates is working with the Water Department on that project. Emergency fire flow testing of a fire hydrant on Waverly Avenue. So I want to make sure I get the information out on this. I'm going to read that off. So this is a notice to the Pittsfield Water Department customer hydrant flow testing. So the town will be conducting an emergency fire flow testing of a fire hydrant located on Waverly Street to occur Wednesday, September 2nd. So that's tomorrow at approximately 9 a.m. During this period of time, people may experience intermittent pressure fluctuations and occasional water that is yellow or water that has black particles. The yellow color in the water is due to the presence of iron. The black particles are due to the presence of manganese. Areas in the distribution system likely to be affected include Waverly Street, Madawaska Avenue, Harriet Street, 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, and 4th Street. When experiencing discolored water, do not use Clorox or bleach products with your laundry. Flush appliances and drain your water heaters following the flushing period. So this is a necessary item and able to move forward to make sure that our hydrants are working properly there for all structures that are located in that area. And we will be doing flushing shortly in October. We wanted to do it sooner. However, the flushing of the hydrants has to be done to fit in with the water use of the town. We have plenty of water, however, we have a huge draw on the water from an industrial user, and it's very important to be able to use the water on the logs that are at Hancock Lumber. If not, and the logs catch on fire, they will burn for days and weeks, and that would be dangerous to say the least, as well as structures. So the flushing has to be scheduled and will be scheduled from now on. Prior to the large use of the industrial water, so and then after that. So basically, before it gets really warm, we need to do the flushing early in the year, and then the flushing in likely October. It'll be based upon the temperatures and the type of weather that we're having. But all of our associates will set this up with the water department, so this is done on a regular basis. Bid specs that Public Works is working on is airport crack sealing. The manhole cover items that all of our associates provided us are on the agenda this evening. We have the Pinto trailer that will be worked on. And the engineering for the cost estimates for road projects, I worked on that one and it's on the agenda this evening. Transfer station new office, I will advise you. We're waiting on CMP. There was a meeting and the project may be able to take place very shortly. Maybe this weekend or the weekend after Labor Day. I will let you know. Number 14 is town logo on vehicles for identification and promotion. We have a quotation or a bid spec document drafted up. There are 20 sides of vehicles and equipment for the new logo for the Public Works Department trucks. Water has 2 trucks and they would like their water logo on them. And the police car needs to be lettered, and that would be the police department's own logo. So all of those will be done together. All vehicles and large pieces of equipment should be labeled for insurance purposes, liability purposes, good communication so citizens know who is out front of their property. And we always need to see where we're located and so others can see us, which is drastically important. Number 15, airport grants. We have 3 grants out there with approximately $453,000 coming in for funding. So we'll be working on that. So far the money has not been received. Tax acquired properties will be coming up for bid. And we have 3 properties, 456 Canaan Road, 132 Peltoma Avenue, and 133 Dorothy Street. So we usually just have one. A couple of years we had more, and then now we're back down, going down again, which is good. So the due date for the tax acquired property bids is Friday, September 25th at 11 a.m., at which time they'll be publicly open. Our notice and the bid sheets are on the town's website. And the last item, last 2 items, is the tax bills have been issued. So, this was the year that we were going to have a tax increase, which we talked about last year when I ran out the sheets on what the estimates were. So, this is interesting this year because there were a couple of changes at the state level. So, as we thought there would be a tax increase, when we estimated this out, we would be going from $21.95 estimated to go to $23.60 to $24.10. And I should note, we're not at 100% valuation anymore, so the rates are actually less than that, and that happens every so often. So that is an increase of 1.45 mils, or 6.6% increase. Now, what's interesting is the homestead, and part of what's happened, the increase would have been less because you did cutting at the end, and you did get it down, but the homestead exemption has gone up for the property owners who reside in their property, so the value of the town has gone down. But the interesting twist on this, and what happened last time when the homestead exemptions changed, is that people who have a homestead exemption who live here in town will be affected differently than properties that there isn't a homestead exemption, businesses and raw land. The businesses, the raw land, and those who reside outside of town will have a 6.6% increase, and I tested it out. It's exactly 6.6% because the tax rate is going up 1.45 mils. But residences now have additional value that will be exempted. So for example, just as a couple of differences, values, a property that's valued at $64,000 actually will have its taxes reduced by 1%. A property which is valued at $95,000 will have a 1.3% increase. And as the properties go up, the increase heads towards the 6.6, but it has to be very large to get there. So a property that is valued at $106,000 will have a 1.8% increase. A property valued at, let's get up to a higher one, $107,000 will have a 2.1% increase. And so I'm reading off increases for townhouse roof properties, but won't say whose they are. So the increases are not that much. $43, $53, $45, -16. So this is lucky for the residents, so they're not impacted as much. Unfortunately, the businesses and the raw land and the people who do not reside in town that do not have a homestead exemption do have a 6.6% increase.
Catherine, can you say those last 2 numbers again? $106,000 valuation was an increase of 1.8, and $107,000 was 2.1% increase, or $1,000 of valuation increase?
Okay, the $95,000 one was 1.3. The $106,000 was 1.8. There's a $113,000 that's 2.1.
Okay.
So they all differ. And as the value of the property goes up, it heads towards the 6.6%. But it has to be really high value property to get up there.
I misheard the 113. I heard 107, and it seemed like a big jump in increase for $1,000 in valuation. Thank you.
So that happened once before while I was here, in which the homestead changed and we were going to have a tax rate increase. So for the residents, It's fortunate, very fortunate for them. I'll also note, next, 211 Main, just to remind everybody, they can use 211 Main, and United Way of Maine want to announce the launch of the redesigned website, 211main.org, so 211main.org, to get help for everybody who has different issues and items and needs assistance with issues. The one item that I'll leave for the end, and this is quite interesting, dealing with a citizen, a property owner who came in to several meetings ago and wanted to talk to us about opening up the town to recreational marijuana. So we asked for a proposal after the discussion. We didn't know where the individual lived or what property it was, or where they owned the property. So time went by and I didn't hear anything. And then I got called by somebody that works with the individual. And so they asked a lot of questions and were concerned they had to file a whole site plan review, which I went over. That was not necessary, but if they did think at some point they wanted to do a project of that magnitude, perhaps they could look at the site plan review and just pick out a few details that would be helpful for us. But we were basically looking at, how many people would they employ? Would they build a building? What would be the proposed valuation of the property? Where would they put items? Where were they located? Things like that, so that we had a general idea of security items. And so after that, nothing happened for a while, and then I got contacted by the Maine Cannabis Consultants, who would like to have workshops with the town council to have a discussion on whether the town of Pittsfield is interested in opting in on adult use cultivation. So they want to invite experts from across the state, and then we would have a variety of meetings to talk about this. So I would propose, since we're going in the budget process, that this is not what we indicated we were going to do. And yet, if they would like to submit a proposal, as indicated previously, they're more than welcome to do that, and we will look at that either as a town council, or you could send it to the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation, or you could have the planning board look at it. But they have asked specifically to have workshops at the meetings to invite people from across the state to talk about opening up the town to recreational cultivation and everything to do with marijuana.
If we're gonna do that, it has to be next year, and
Yes, that's the thing.
we can't do it at the end of the year, so.
They should put
Maybe
their plan together.
telling them that this would be put off until, let's say, like springtime-ish next year, that maybe they'll just put in the proposal then.
Before I told them that, I wanted to just see what you thought, but it seems like we're going into a congested period of time in which we're gonna have meetings every week, which is fine, but we should focus on what we have scheduled to do.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure that we should get involved with this group and wind up being part of national statistics and whatever they're gonna do with the information they glean from these meetings. I think we should just stay away from it.
I think it's presentations from them to us to try and convince us that it's a good idea. I don't think, I mean, I agree with Amanda, we don't have time to deal with this right now.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
March at the earliest, maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm gonna suggest that we go back to the proposal item,
Yeah,
which may give us the information that we want, which would be very helpful, and does not have to be a big detailed item. I told them just the basic items that I would think that people would be interested in, which is all the items that we mentioned at the meeting. So I'll do that again, and just talk about time frame and our schedules. All right, very good, thank you so much.
Thanks, Catherine. That brings us down to new business, resolutions 20-104.
Resolution 20-104, resolved that the town council execute a letter to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, requesting that the town's sewer loan yearly requirement of $85,000 to be budgeted for placement in the sludge reserve be suspended, as the town has accumulated sufficient funding for future flood removal, and further, that the town be able to utilize all funding over $600,000 in the reserve for debt and capital payments for sewer system infrastructure improvements.
Move we adopt resolution 20-104.
Second?
Thank you. Discussion, counselors?
No, let's do it.
This is something we've been thinking about for
Keep
a
our
while.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would
Get
be-
that money back.
That would be wonderful, yeah.
Would be.
Anyone opposed to sending this letter?
No.
All right, let's vote on sending the letter. All those in favor of sending the letter that Catherine drafted to the USDA regarding our annual flood reserve payments, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. There, easy. All right, resolution 20-105.
Resolution 20-105, resolved that the town council approve the request for proposals for the manhole rim adjustment project on Detroit Avenue and authorize the town manager and public works foreman to seek bids for same and accept a proposal for the town within available funding.
Move we adopt resolution 20-101.
Second.
105, sorry.
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion, manhole rim adjustment. Steve, I have the inclination you have something to say about this.
Excuse me?
Do you have anything to say about the manhole rim adjustment project?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
So the only change that we made on this to save time, and because it's not a huge project, was that the town manager and the department head would be able to accept the proposal if it fit within our available funding. It would not have to come back to you, as you have already seen the bid.
That was my question.
Good. Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, less stuff that has to come
I
back
think
to
that
us.
this is
the
a
better.
good approach to use on some of these smaller projects.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be able to expedite something like this too, that we've already basically given approval for,
Right.
Yeah.
We have the funding for it.
and we already have
I
the
think
funding
it-
for
it-
it.
It,
The end of this.
it opens up time and space for us to
Like
do
the
other
second to last
things.
page.
I know, I'm like, where's the end of this?
Oh, yeah.
There.
I was doing the same thing.
So far, I've spent a year.
Any other discussion about the rim, manhole rim adjustment?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, how many pages here? Okay. All those in favor of, adopting resolution 20-105, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-106.
Resolution 20-106, resolved that the town council approve the request for proposals for engineering services and authorize the town manager and public works foreman to seek bids for same and accept a proposal for the town within available funding.
Move we adopt resolution 20-106.
Second?
Thank you. Counselors, discussion.
Nope, let's do
This is
it.
basically this going the same way. This won't come back to us.
Yeah, because you can see what we're planning to do, which is to get an engineer on board to give us updated cost estimates on some of the projects that we would not be able to estimate ourselves. So these are all projects that are not out in the country, in which we can figure out the cost per mile, pretty reasonably easy. So you have a number of roads,
That's the list here that you gave us, right?
Yes. yes, a number of roads. We're over the 10, but I think that's fine because this will be helpful information for capital improvement planning for the future. We also have a major drainage runoff area that needs to be looked at because there are issues along that area. And so we need to have an overview, a whole global look at it. We can't just fix one little place because it'll affect the other places.
So this is not the same list as our paving list that we had
Correct.
before,
Correct.
but all of these involve paving as well.
Yes, yes, because
Should be
underneath,
done before.
underneath the road, are the water, sewer, sometimes stormwater drain. 3 of them have sidewalks, There are a couple of bridge projects or large culverts and a drainage project involved too.
The Crawford Bridge has been on the to-do list for a while. I thought we had some state bridge funding for that.
We did get a large sum of money, however, most of it had to be used on Sebastopol Street, the first set of culverts. And so we now have Sebastopol Street, the other culvert, which the state has identified. And we do have we have some plans that are together with an approach from an engineer on how to do the Crawford Road Bridge, but there just wasn't enough money.
So there's some engineering that has already been done on both of those projects, the Sebastopol and the Crawford Bridge?
Just the Crawford Road one, this was part of an RFP that was put out. We did get some pricing, so we do have some of the background information for that.
Correct. Some of that might have changed a little bit by then though, because nothing's been done. So it might need a little updated.
Mhm.
And then the other culvert was never on the list because they hadn't gotten to the fail point.
Mhm.
That's
So
the
that-
Sebastopol one?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, the second
Yeah.
one.
So,
So are we gonna contract with an engineer to give us pricing and plans on all of these items, or are we going to just target and pick the worst one?
We're getting pricing on all of these because this is a list for several years,
Okay.
multiple years. And so in the bid specs, I put in that you would pursue one project because the cost of these projects is gonna be huge.
Oh,
the cheap money will,
Pardon?
the cheap money will be up front. It'll be the
Yes.
engineer.
engineering.
Yeah, and hopefully that will save us money going forward, for the project if it gets executed. And two, it'll push you in the right direction. In other words, you're not throwing good money
Right.
into something that's already bad. So, Forest Park being a big one.
Mm.
Yeah.
What will be helpful here is that if we get an engineer on board that we like with reasonable cost, they'll have background, so maybe we'll decide to engineer another project and get bids for it and then put it out if monies are available. Right now, there's no grant funding for road projects, but you never know. There is grant funding and loans for sewer and water projects, and of course, this might be, if we're able to free up the $85,000 in the budget each year, we can have another debt service or two debt service payments for a sewer project.
Does that money have to stay in the sewer budget though? And this would be considered water sewer projects?
On the letter,
Some of them?
we did put, they want us to continue, through we're back to the USDA letter, they want us to upgrade to continue upgrading our sewer rehabilitation plan, and we had to stop once we did our massive projects, beyond the sludge removal with the $3.4 million that we got in our grant loan combination package, which was wonderful at a reasonably very low interest rate. So once we accepted all of that work got done, we accepted the loan, we had to start making payments, which impacted our budget drastically. And that would have been okay, but then the laws changed on the financing, on how the sewer and water were looked at. They were no longer governmental entities, they became proprietary, and they became business types. And once they became business types, depreciation had to be attached to them, which then started the expenses going up and having to put money in separate accounts. So then we were unable to do any other projects. So there's been a long time since we've done a sewer project, and we need to start doing those. The only way we're gonna be able to do them is if we can get a total grant, which we would not be eligible for, but if we could free up the $85,000, we could start doing some projects. So they will want the money to stay with sewer,
And
which is
these
still
are,
okay.
well, my question is, these are considered water sewer, even though there's drainage and road construction and paving involved?
We would be able to put the sewer monies toward the project on the sewer costs.
Just the sewer parts
Yes.
of that project,
Yes.
so other funding for that project, like say Hamilton Terrace, if that comes in at $150,000, we could use one of our $85,000 payments towards it but only on the water sewer.
Only on the
Type
sewer,
parts of
on the
that are
sewer
fixed.
part,
Okay.
sewer part, yeah. Which is still good. Yes, if it was 150,000, that we would be very happy.
Well, that was just, yeah, it's a pipe dream to have a
That would
road
be
be fixed
nice.
for that much,
Yeah.
but, okay.
And I heard the pipe dream part, because it will be a pipe.
If I, yeah. Counselors, any other questions about this, getting this engineering done ahead of time?
The other projects too.
Alright, councilors, let's vote on resolution 20-106. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing, that will pass. That brings us to our last resolution, 20-107.
Resolution 20-107, resolve that the town council appoint members to fill the vacancies on the various town boards and committees.
Move we adopt resolution 20-107, appointing Corey Verrill to the planning board as an associate member.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, comments?
Hi, Corey.
Didn't realize you were gonna be here for the entire meeting.
So this is your introduction into town government. Planning board meetings are just about as exciting.
Yep, I've seen the last couple.
Do you have anything you want to say to us, or?
Nope, I lived in Pittsfield for 2 years. I've worked for Chimbrook for 15. Saw the opening and thought I could help out.
It's greatly
So we didn't
appreciated.
scare you?
Not yet.
Any other discussion, council? All right.
Glad that somebody has stepped up.
Thank you for being willing to serve.
Yes.
All those in favor of appointing Corey Verrill to an associate term on the planning board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. Congratulations.
Look forward to seeing you next month. Right?
This month.
Oh,
No, this
right,
one
this is the
Oh,
first.
It's September.
I keep doing the same thing.
No. Don't worry, it'll only last a month and then you'll be running September, not September, October.
You know, I wrote 2019 the other day instead of 2020. I was like, what the heck is
You're
that?
way behind.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, that must be what it is. I don't want to be in this year.
Catherine, we don't have any discussion items.
We do not.
Okay.
Yay.
Reports. Anyone in the audience like to say anything tonight? Gentlemen? No? Okay.
Anybody?
Counselors, Pete, do you want to start us tonight?
I don't have anything to say.
Deb?
I don't have anything other than I'm grateful we're getting done early.
I'm trying.
I think it was a good meeting.
Amanda?
I just wanted to ask Catherine, the porta potties, since you brought them up, it made me think about that. Are those going away after this Thursday, since this is the last summer concert series concert?
They normally would have, but if we're going to have, I've got to see what the fall schedules will be for
Okay,
sports.
so we may keep them for
Other-
fall sports
Yeah,
then.
this actually, the recreation director was just ecstatic because this has been just an issue at the park continuously for years because the facility can only be open when it's manned and
Right.
that's very rare.
Well, and right now we have other restrictions,
Mhm.
so
Yes.
the porta potties.
I think it's a great idea.
It worked out really good.
Takes all of the liability off of us.
I also liked that the website has been updated. Mike's been talking back and forth with me, checking out website things, and he's doing a nice job, and I'm excited to see the calendar move up on the mobile site. I know he's trying to figure out how to do that with it not just being a tab, and I've offered help whenever he needs it.
And what we've done is rather than just change things and then sometimes they weren't the items that we thought should be changed or people had different opinions, we're doing sheets in which we print out the copy and then we write on what we're changing so that we've got a record of what was there and what we're putting on. So I used to do this, and this was very helpful when people had questions. So we're doing this, and starting out with like economic development, we'll go through the whole website. And I think this will clean up a lot of things.
Yes, they're very positive changes. I'm glad to see it happening, especially where we have to do everything electronically right now too. So I'm very excited about that, and I just wanted to say congratulations to you and your staff on those steps that are going forward. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Everybody likes it.
Okay. The only thing that, well, I have a couple things. Number one, thank you for first citizen hall meeting. We to be inducted into the planning board, I guess, or appointed to the planning board. And Steve, as always, thank you for coming and being available for input. It's extremely, I think I say this every time, it's extremely helpful to have department heads here for us to ask questions of, for sure. And we already thanked Ben, but I'll say it again, you know, to have the boards and committees directly report to us is always helpful because we can have that back and forth and ask questions with them. So, the only other thing I would like to announce is that the Maine Cheese Guild has been successful in their application for a tourism enterprise grant from the Maine Tourism Marketing Partnership Program. And so that will allow us to do significant amount of advertising for our planning for the Maine Cheese Festival for 2021. So securing the grant was step one. Step two is convincing the committee to bring it back to Pittsfield next year. But we have a board meeting coming up on the 13th, so hopefully that will happen and we can start planning right away. So be happy about that. And I do not have anything else. Councilwoman?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Anyone opposed? No? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure, you're gonna run for town councilor next, right?
This is how
I was suggesting before, but I didn't know.
Agendas this
Wow, we've
short.
got 2 openings.
Really?
Actually, the more
He's
we
running from the building, you know.
Catherine, can we keep the meetings, the agendas this short?
I'm trying.
We just have to have them more frequently, like I used to make them short sometimes.
Well, I am
Yeah,
trying.
sometimes.
I think they're gonna keep getting longer. We're hitting budget season
Yeah,
there.
we lucked out on this one.
I am trying to do that, but also, Deborah and I have talked about different ways to take things off. I know sometimes the department heads really like to have the items on there, like Holly and Lynn wanted to do their Minerva every year, you know, but it's because they get contact with everybody, but it doesn't need to be on there. So I think the department head reports really adds to that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Catherine, I think one thing that could shorten things up is I was actually reading off the minutes of the last meeting when you were doing the town manager report, and a lot of the things were on there. I was just reading off the wrong page. I thought I was following along on tonight's agenda, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of
because-
repetition.
Right, but I'm.
You're starting to sound like
on some
me
of the things.
now.
Oh, my brain.
Right, but I'm making them very short, but there's several purposes, because people will read the minutes who don't watch the meetings. Some
Right.
people watch the meetings, other people will get the extra copies that we have upstairs and take them home.
Well,
So
I-
because of the loss of the media that we have, this works out really well for multiple
I think
ways.
so. If it's on there for like 4 or 5 meetings, I think we can take it off.
I would normally say so,
And-
but we still have people that don't know when the town office is open and the hours and the Wednesday. They don't know there's a
Well, I'm
list.
not talking about
Those
that.
people
I'm
are
talking-
probably not attending our meetings.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the,
Oh, that's too
the
bad.
town logos for the trucks. I mean, that's something that we can mention once and then it's gonna be happening, so it's
Right, we don't-
something we have to do
Yeah,
all
I've
the time.
mentioned it twice.
Speaking of that, the logo's gonna be the same on all the vehicles, correct?
Some of
Because you
them,
mentioned something about a water logo for the.
yeah, the water does have their own logo.
And the police department has their own.
They have to
logo.
have their own, they can't have that other logo, you wouldn't
No,
want that.
no.
Totally,
Police
no.
can't have that.
Um,
The water department should just have the same one and then have it say water department underneath it.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Well, recycling
To have
can
what
have
one?
it, but freely, that's
To
it,
just
without
have
any
the-
cost,
the
cause they're
Pittsfield-
put on
Right,
it.
yeah, that's
And
what
then
I,
water department.
exactly, that's what they should have. See, even Heather agrees with me.
That's typical of companies and organizations that have multiple departments. It's the same upper logo with the name of the
With just the
department
name of the
below.
department on it,
Yeah.
so.
Amanda, did you wanna sign these, or do you want?
I think I already signed those.
No, he's the only one that signed this one.
Wait, did I miss one?
I don't know, apparently.
Oh.
Yes, I'll sign it.